Contents. Part 1. Haptic-Science. 1. Haptic discrimination of different types of soft materials. Moog Kavdan, Katja Dorschner, and Knud Druing. 2. Moving hands feel stimuli before stationary hands. Knud Druing and Jean Vrooman. 3. Perception of friction in tactile exploration of microstructured rubber samples. Maha Felberg, Kwang Siop Kim, Knud Druing, René Hensel, and Roland Benowitz. 4. Influence of prior visual information on exploratory movement direction in texture perception. Michaela Jeschke, Aaron C. Zoller, and Knud Druing. 5. Guidance for the design of vibrotactile patterns for use on the human back. Astrid M. L. Kappers and Mert A. Plaisir. 6. Speed discrimination in the apparent haptic motion illusion. Ila Cote, D. Gorgiev, C. Pacchiarotti, M. Babel, and M. Marchal. 7. Neutral point in haptic perception of softness. Anna Metzger, Anna Lotz, and Knud Druing. 8. Pilot study on presenting pulling sensation by electro-tactile stimulation. Shota Nakayama, Mitsuki Manaba, Keigo Yoshiyama, Masahiro Miyakami, Akifumi Takahashi, and Hiroyuki Kajimoto. 9. A preliminary study on the perceptual independence between vibrotactile and thermal senses. Jaejin Park, Jungwoo Kim, Cheong Park, Sung Jae-oh, Junsok Park, and Seungmoon Choi. 10. Spatial compatibility of visual and tactile stimulation in shared haptic perception. Kimihiro Uemura, Hikari Yukawa, Kota Kitamichi, Mina Shibasaki, Kutra Minamizawa, and Yoshihiro Tanaka. 11. Increasing perceived weight and resistance by applying vibration to tendons during active arm movements. Keigo Yoshiyama, Akifumi Takahashi, and Hiroyuki Kajimoto. 12. A comparison of haptic and auditory feedback as a warning signal for slip in teleoperation scenarios. Femke E. van Beek, Quentin Bishop, Kai Jaishberze, Peter S. de Vries, and Irene A. Cooling. 13. Experiencing touch by technology. Judith Wiede, Dasha Kolesnik, Angelica Mader, and Jan van Erp. 14. Effect of focus direction and agency on tactile perceptibility. Zane A. Zook and Marcia K.O. Malley. Part 2. Haptic technology. 15. Haptic guidance for teleoperation, optimizing performance and user experience. Leonie Becker, Bernhard Weber, and Nikolai Bechtel. 16. A multimodal haptic armband for finger-level sensory feedback from a prosthetic hand. Alexander Berkovic, Colin Lagagne, Digby Chappelle, Frashantha Nanayakara, Petr Kormashev, Fernando Bello, and Nicholas Rojas. 17. Sound pressure field reconstruction for ultrasound phased array by linear synthesis scheme optimization. Jianyu Chen, Shun Suzuki, Dao Murasaki, Yutaro Toide, Masahiro Fujiwara, Yasutoshi Makino, and Hiroyuki Shinoda. 18. A rotary induction actuator for kinesthetic and tactile rendering. Georges Daher, Stéphane Renier, and Sinan Halio. 19. Haptic feedback for wrist angle adjustment. Michiel den Daas, Femke E. van Beek, and Irene A. Cooling. 20. Larger skin surface contact through a fingertip wearable improves roughness perception. David Gorgiev, Bernard Javat, Adam Spears, and Catherine J. Kuckenbecker. 21. Expanding dynamic range of electrical stimulation using anesthetic cream. Takumi Hamazaki, Taiga Saito, Seitaro Kaneko, and Hiroyuki Kajimoto. 22. Haptic rattle. Multimodal rendering of virtual objects inside a hollow container. Emily Hummel, Claudio Pacchiarotti, Valerie Goranton, Ronan Ghani, Theophane Nicholas, and Anatole Lekire. 23. Design of a 2DOF haptic device for motion guidance. Lisheng Kwang, Maud Marchal, Marco Agravi, Paolo Robifo Giordano, and Claudio Pacchiarotti. 24. Preliminary design of a flexible haptic surface. Romain Le Maguires, Frederic Giraud, Fabrice Cassett, Anise Casey, Bridget Deloges, and Michael Collin. 25. Human self-touch versus other touch resolved by machine learning. Aruna Ramasamy, Damian Foe, Vincent Hayward, Malika Auvray, Xavier Job, and Louise Kirsch. 26. Investigating movement-related tactile suppression using commercial VR controllers. Imo Schutz, Megan McManus, Katya Feeler, and Dimitris Vodoris. 27. Estimation of frictional force using the thermal images of target surface during stroking. Mitsuhiko Shimamura, Masahiro Fujiwara, Yasutoshi Makino, and Hiroyuki Shinoda. 28. Spatial resolution of mesoscopic shapes presented by airborne ultrasound. Zen Sumi, Dao Murasaki, Yutaro Toide, Masahiro Fujiwara, Yasutoshi Makino, and Hiroyuki Shinoda. Part 3. Haptic applications. 29. Vibrotactile similarity perception in crowdsourced and lab studies. Ramzi Abu Shaheen, Dongjae Kwan, Chungmin Lim, Gunhyuk Park, and Hasti Sci-Fi. 30. Perception of spatialized vibrotactile impacts in a handheld tangible for virtual reality. Pierre-Antoine Cabaret, Thomas Howard, Claudio Pacchierotti, Marie Babel, and Maud Marchal. 31. Wearable haptics in a modern VR rehabilitation system. Design comparison for usability and engagement. Christian Comardella, Massimiliano Gabardi, Antonio Frisoli, and Daniele Lenardis. 32. Perceiving sequences and layouts through touch. Richa Gupta. 33. Whole hand haptics for mid-air buttons. Martin Maunsbach, Casper Hornbuck, and Hasti Sci-Fi. 34. Proximity-based haptic feedback for collaborative robotic needle insertion. Robin Mealing, Carolyn Stapper, Stefan Gerlach, Maximilian Neidhart, Sarah Lattis, Martin Gromniak, Philip Breitfeld, and Alexander Schlafer. 35. FurKit. Wearable tactile music toolkit for children with ASD-DC. Mina Shibasaki, Yuchi Kamiyama, Sakiko Tanaka, Bunsuke Kawasaki, Shisa Mitsuhashi, Yunsun Pai, and Kutra Minamizawa. 36. A database of vibratory signals from free haptic exploration of natural material textures and perceptual judgments. Viper, Analysis of Spectral Statistics. Matteo Toscani and Anna Metzger. Appendix A01. Developing a VR training environment for fingers rehabilitation with haptic feedback. Alireza Abasimashai, Ahmed Ali Ibrahim Ali, MTA Kern. A02. Impedance control and remote operation of robotic wrist therapy systems. Jose Pedro Kitajima Borges, Alireza Abasimashai, MTA Kern. A03. Feasibility of smartphone vibrations as a sensory diagnostic tool. Rachel A. G. Adenikan, Alexis J. Lober, Bryce N. Huerta, Allison M. Okamura, Kyle T. Yoshida, and Kara M. Nunez. A04. Deixis without sight. Use of spatial demonstratives in the absence of vision. Ghazdam Arakan and Kenny R. Coventry. A05. A scalable haptic circuit for multi-digit grasps. Christian Tiberius Accente, Cyprian Stamate, Robert Gabriel Lupu, Alexandru Barleanu, and Georgiana Giravla. A06. Instrumented force and optical point tracking to measure manual brushing in pleasant touch. J. Michael Birch, Zachary Landsman, and Gregory Gerling. A07. Instrumented object for fingerpad imaging during active manipulation. David Cordova Bulens, Benoit Delhay, Philippe Lefebvre, and Stephen Redmond. A08. Vibrotactile stimuli are perceived more intense at the front than at the back of the torso. Boris Celebi, Moog Kavdan, and Knud Druing. A09. Imaging subsurface skin strain patterns during fingertip sliding. Julia Corniani, Zing Li, Matt J. Carre, Roger Lewis, Benoit P. Delhay, and Hannes P. Saul. A10. Sense of agency over hands-free gestural control is modulated by the timing of haptic feedback. Calvin Deans Brown, Antonio Cataldo, William Fryer, Hannah Limerick, David Beatty, and Patrick Haggard. A11. Exploiting a wearable extra finger for haptic applications. Mihai Dragashanu, Zubair Iqbal, Domenico Praticiso, and Monica Malvezzi. A12. Finger pad deformation under torsion. Sophie Dubois de Dunelac, David Cordova Bulens, Philippe Lefebvre, Stephen J. Redmond, and Benoit P. Delhay. A13. Haptic shape discrimination is independent of weight. Jessica M. Dukes, Sarah Kendall, and Yuta Billino. A14. Human-to-human strokes recordings for tactile apparent motion. Basil de Verneuil and Sarah McIntyre. A15. Between tactor display using dynamic tactile stimuli. Ryo Iguchi, David Vacek, Cole Godzinski, Sylvia Curry, Max Evans, and Allison M. Okamura. A16. Measuring oddball responses to vibrotactile textures. Julia Esposito, Sylvie Nazardin, Olivier Calignan, and Andre Moro. A17. Distinguishable virtual haptic textures to understand multi-sensory sensation. Jenna Fradin and David Gorgiev. A18. The role of the visio-tactile congruence between the size of a collider and virtual contents in the interactions with virtual objects. Girondini Matteo, Clerici Monica, Montanaro Massimo, and Galacci Alberto. A19. Thermal sensation display controlling the thermal conductivity of a surface. Johann Gonzalez San Juan and Norihisa Miki. A20. Simulating the influence of surface hardness on the contact area formation for dry and moist finger-skin contacts. Michael Griegier, Thomas Ewells, Christian Schipfer, Peter Fuchs, and Dieter P. Gruber. A21. Embedded 3D printing. A cost-effective development platform for tactile sensors. Sonia Grogi, Celia Bryman, Sasha Schwartz, Amartya Ganguly, and Sami Haddadine. A22. Acoustic finger force observation in a longitudinal ultrasonic surface haptic device and its relation to friction. Diana Angelica Torres, Anise Casey, Betty Lemaire Seamail, Christophe Giraud-Audin, Frederick Giraud, and Michel Amberg. A23. Design and implementation of a Cartesian impedance control in a bilateral telemanipulation system using ER-10E robots. Ali Hamoud, Fadi Youssef, and Thorsten A. Kern. A24. Mid-air haptic biosignal transfer. Daria Hemmerling, Maciej Stroinsky, Kamil Kwarchiak, Maciej Szymkowski, William Fryer, Orestes Georgiou, and Mikola Maximenko. A25. Ultrasonic friction modulation modifies the area of contact, not the shear strength. Nicholas Hulu, Lawrence Willamay, and Michael Weirdluskin. A26. Fingertip friction and tactile rating of wrapping papers. Kim Michelle Yost, Knut Druing, and Roland Benowitz. A27. A psychological and behavioral study on remote audiovisual tactile communication system with pressure stimulation. Mayuko Ito, Takumi Kahara, Takuto Matsuhashi, Chihiro Hosoda, Keigo Inakai, Junji Watanabe, Kutra Minamizawa, and Yoshihiro Tanaka. A28. Using digital image correlation to quantify the effects of thin films on skin deformation. Anika Kao and Gregory Gerling. A29. Engineering Haptic Devices 3rd edition in 2022 in open access. Thorsten A. Kern and Alireza Abasimashai. A30. Wearable haptic device for individuals with congenital absence of proprioception. Srila Kadali, Allison M. Okamura, Thomas C. Bulia, Alexander T. Chesler, and Karsten G. Bonman. A31. Remote High-Five. Bidirectional transmission system for video, audio, and vibrotactile information applied for communication of athletes with family, a case study. Kakagu Komazaki and Junji Watanabe. A32. Rolling handle for hand motion guidance and teleoperation. Lishun Kwong, Maud Marchal, Paolo Robifo Giordano, and Claudio Pacchierotti. A33. Is tactile shape coding invariant against small location shifts on the skin? Sainob Kuroki and Enshin, Ya Nishida. A34. Precision grip discrimination of object thickness. Alistair J. Laudet, Siddhartha Pand, Nakash Afzal, Poya Abdalazadeh, Richard M. Vickery, and Ingvars Berzniks. A35. Use of multiple frequencies of ultrasound in mid-air haptic stimulation. Saya Mizutani, Shun Suzuki, Atsushi Matsubayashi, Dao Murasaki, Yutaro Toide, Masahiro Fujiwara, Yasutoshi Makino, and Hiroyuki Shinoda. A36. Presenting sliding sensation by electro-tactile stimulation. Shota Nakayama, Seitaro Kaneko, Mitsuki Manaba, Keigo Yoshiyama, Masahiro Miyakami, Akifumi Takahashi, and Hiroyuki Kajimoto. A37. Uncoupled stability dynamic range for Kelvin Voigt and Hunt Crossley virtual environments. Sienna Oliver, Leon M. Peckley, and Kayvon Hashtretti Zod. A38. Fashion Touch. Surface haptics in fashion e-commerce. Michaela Ornati. A39. The influence of aging on perceptual grouping in haptic search. K.E. Overvliet. A40. Investigating haptic feedback and arousal for motor skill training in virtual reality. Unikrishnan Radhakrishnan, Konstantinos Koumouditis, and Francesco Chinello. A41. Safe movement for the blind using localized haptic stimulation. Jaffer Ramal and Robert Spence. A42. An immersive virtual paleontology application. Lucas Rodriguez, John Niakatura, Stefan Zacco, and Johann Habakkuk Israel. A43. Mapping of vibrotactile stimuli into a perceptual space. Ruben Rodriguez, Santiago Cuevas, Jose Lobera, Damian Hernandez Lam, Juan Jose Zarate, Ines Semengo. A44. Perception of guitar strings on a flat Visio tactile display. Baptiste Raho Klaken, Malika Auvray, Jean Loich Lecaroux, and David Gorgiev. A45. Pseudo-forces from asymmetric vibrations can modulate movement velocity. Nihar Sabnis, Aline van der Kruk, David Abink, and Michael Weirdlewski. A46. Tactile friction of UV curable coatings and its relation to surface hardness. Thomas Ewells, Michael Griegier, Sandra Schlagel, and Dieter P. Gruber. A47. Electrotactile patterns for single-finger interactions in VR. Sebastian Visque, Panagiotis Cordisis, Ferran Argeligay, Claudio Pacchiarotti, and Maud Marchal. A48. Sit by Me. A multi-sensory feedback bench for social impromptu interactions. Kiyu Wang, Yun Soon Pai, and Kutra Minamizawa. A49. Exospine. Artificial muscle-driven spine for posture correction. Yutong Xie, Yun Soon Pai, and Kutra Minamizawa. A50. Design of robot end effector to be used in studying actuator performance for vibrotactile perception in a telemanipulation setup. Fadi Youssef, Maximilian Becker, and Thorsten A. Kern. Author Index.